together a take-back scheme that can take the form of a cashback or take the form of a discount voucher for a new product, or maybe some whichever goodies, but it needs to be significant to motivate the customers to actually give back their end-of-life products. The agents, if they are to be mobilized also for the product collection, everybody knows that they only work if they are incentivized. So, of course, an incentive scheme is also required for them. Then you have to pay for reverse logistics to ship the products back to the central warehouses and sometimes to the manufacturer, sort the products, repair the products, eventually refurbish the products. All that has a cost. And of course, we're talking about a market that is very sensitive to price. So the question is, how can we bear that cost? Now, there are definitely a bunch of solutions and a lot of grants looking to cover those costs, at least for a transition phase. But it is an issue that must be taken into consideration. And the last challenge that we foresee is that it will definitely require an impulse to set in motion an industry-wide initiative, because if one player in the
opportunities and the challenges, which also Rebecca, you were doing, and I think you hit many of them from two different angles. Really lovely to see, even though it's a lot of challenges, but getting them upfront like this. Because of course now you're talking about solar home systems, but we know that this goes with many other fractions as well. So that was lovely. Thank you so much. We are now entering the panel discussion. We will stay here and not switch this session in the system. When I want to introduce, I also see that we still have Mel with us, so I'm grateful for that. So soon I will pose you a question, but first I also want to introduce another member of the panel, which is Piotr Bajak, who is the inclusive circular economy expert at European Environmental Bureau in Brussels. Piotr, are you with us now?
Now everybody has to join that, so you don't have, the disincentive to not participate. That's two things we might take away.
Thank you so much. That's valuable. So do we have Piotr with us now? No. Is Piotr backstage? No. Oh, we lost him. I'm sorry about that. We go on. Any of the panelists of what Melissa, any other? I saw Luca, you were holding your hand.
Yes. Can you hear me? For Melissa, about the informal sector inclusion, may I ask you if you have some examples, some case?
What that means is, for example, that if you have, we see it much more in Brazil, they handled each stream differently. In electronics, it's been more complex because it is a much more complex waste, and the informal recyclers may not have the tools, the training, and the education to handle it safely. But in the separate packaging decree, in the packaging extended producer responsibility scheme, the producers, the Coca-Cola and all of the big companies actually have to engage the cooperatives of informal recyclers and have them be part of the collection scheme to go out and collect the packaging waste. So they are required by the sectoral agreement to work with and not exclude the informal recyclers, so that we don't have opportunities and economic realities in Latin America sector. And EPR could be seen as taking away valuable resources from them. So instead, we include them in that. And the EPR schemes are required to work with informal cooperatives and give them
a lot of PROs, and there are other similar bodies around the world also coordinating PROs.
Indeed, there are. But I would maintain that none of them are as good as the WEEE Forum, of course.
Of course not. Now when you're with us.
But the difference is that if you're looking at what the WEEE Forum does, the WEEE Forum is not a coordination body in that sense of the word. It is a membership organization of producer responsibility organizations from every country around the world. We're there to share knowledge, to improve collection, to generally improve the system on behalf of the producer members. So the Sonys, the Panasonics, etc. of this world for our members. The coordination body that I mentioned is a national body that coordinates the system activities of that country. So you would have the municipalities, the retailers, the producer responsibility organizations in that country who are members of the coordination body that effectively link together.
Doing enough or quickly enough? Do you see that it is moving towards a coordinating within your sector? And this goes with you, Rebecca, as well. Is something happening? First Antoine and then Rebecca.
Well, on my side, I had the feeling that something is moving. I would say, something is boiling, is coming forward. There are different initiatives. There are funding initiatives. There are industrial initiatives moving. Maybe more so in East Africa, and it's normal because East Africa has been a pioneer, in the solar sector, and has probably 10 years in advance compared to West African markets where we work. So it's pretty natural that it begins there. But we're not quite there yet. I mean, I think from our position, we have the feeling that it's just the premises.
Thank you. Yes, and I also believe what we talked about with green procurement earlier, it was mentioned in the opening remarks, when anyone who orders for a system, now sometimes it's a household, which is not a procurement per se, but in general, when we have also these bigger deployments that we actually ask for recyclable products, high quality. I know you mentioned also Ibukun to get rid of these substandard items. That is so true. So then we will substandard items. That is so true. So then we will move even further. We have a question. So would we then have a...
One more thing. I thought it was so interesting. You were talking about, what to do, how to get higher quality products or make sure that they're managed well. That's where you can do like Brazil and introduce the concept that it can't be imported unless the importer can show that that product belongs to a EPR scheme, and they have to give on their importer certification where that good is going to go at the end. Oh, I'll go at the end. Oh, I'll step down now. We got our...
Now we have Piotr Bachak with us from the European Environmental Bureau. I'm terribly sorry about the technical difficulties, but thanks for bearing with us and communicating in all ways possible. Piotr, I know you probably have some burning questions from the NGO side and the environmental side.
Yes, thank you. Asante sana.
The floor is yours now to ask questions or come with comments of what you've been hearing.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Asante sana. Thank you very much. Congratulations to WEEE for organizing this first African e-waste sustainable per year. That means 2 million cars taken out from the road every year by 1 year. That's why repair and reuse is so important, and it's often kind of neglected or overlooked when we look in setting EPR schemes. Africa has a lot of gaps in policies, true, but it is also a potential that we can set it right. when EPR is going to be set in many countries, and I lived and worked in few countries in Africa, and I know it will not be easy, but this, the context of reuse activities, the social networks that work on reuse and repair and in potential. Okay, maybe we don't have heavy industry and infrastructure to set up recycling. It will come, but there is a low-hanging fruit to catch already now, which is repair. And you will all who live in Africa or in Asia, in developing countries, you know that repair activities are welcomed. There are skills, and this is a low-hanging fruit to catch, which will bring benefits, not only environmental and climate, but also jobs. And inclusion. So that's what we call inclusive EPR systems, inclusive circular economy. It will never be inclusive. It will never. What is the grade of repairability of certain products? So just to recap, when setting up EPR systems now, especially in African countries, in Asia, in Brazil, the aspect of repair has to be included by setting reuse targets. Because if we don't set reuse targets, all the focus will go for recycling, and that's what I'm hearing during this panel, unfortunately, as well. Everything about recycling, but where is the first in the hierarchy? Reuse. So eco-modulation is part of it. Before we really boost recycling and reuse and eco-design of products, eco-modulation of EPR fee can play a role. So it is an economic tool which will incentivize better design. So producers who avoid toxic substances, who have longer warranties, they have to pay a lower EPR fee, as opposed to those who do not make any effort. And then the last part I wanted just to mention is that, yes, there is still electronic waste that is sent from developing countries to developed countries to developing countries. It is forbidden because of Basel Convention, but there is an organization called Basel Action Network that has proved, they made experiences where they show that the so-called reusable items, when they are shipped to Africa, they open the container of those.
Question also, but it's actually in terms of reuse now. In Africa, we already practice a lot of repair. You know, a lot of people naturally repair because that's what we've known. But discouraged from repairing items because they don't get it repaired properly. They will have paid for that service, and then the products come back not repaired. So how can producers get involved in, empowering repairers to be able to, repair properly? It's something I think we need to be looking at, and also in setting up the EPR system. So will producers now set up recycling and repair facilities themselves, or what's the procedure that's most appropriate?
Okay, I thank you, Ibukun.
In many ways, you can start with not a blank sheet of paper, but a blank sheet of paper overlaid with the good and the bad experiences from around the world. So, as Melissa has said, in Brazil, you have a huge country, you have difficult to access terrains, you have now a very good structured system. We're seeing similar things start to happen in India, an enormous continent with lots of people. So I think by taking those examples and learning from them and remembering that this isn't really or shouldn't be a competitive environment. This is about the environment. And if everyone understands that and that there is a cost of not doing things, then I think the African continent has a fantastic opportunity here.
Thanks. That sounds wonderful. Any other who wants to have a closing remark? No? I would like...
Sorry, yeah. I'll jump in and just say, I think more events like...
Food repair, which we don't do enough of. In Latin America, repair is not part of EPR schemes or regulations. That's where we can teach you about including informal recyclers and learn about repair. I'm taking notes.
So much. That's great. I just want to follow up on what Piotr said, because first of all, the reuse targets, yes, I see it in my own home country that we have collection targets of tonnages, etc. We need to skew it towards not only recycling but reuse, which also leads us into safe and new ways of transporting and collecting instead of dropping something into a big container so it breaks as it hits the floor or anything else there. We need to start placing things and using this session. Was it impactful? So I would love for everyone who is watching to go to the right session where it says polls and answer what you think and submit your vote. And then we will release results. What if everybody says bad?
We have big room for improvement.
So we will release the results very soon. And meanwhile, as we wait for the results, I would like to thank Luca, Ibukun, Philip, and the whole WEEE Forum for helping us also here in Kenya as we are working for a PRO, setup. So take the opportunity of thanking you once for all.